Hi, family. Welcome to February. Now, the world calls this the month of love. I'm talking flowers, chocolates, grand gestures, and sweet words. But here is the real question. What is love when the gifts are gone? What is love when emotions change? What is love when life becomes real? See, love was never meant to be a feeling that we chase. It is a design that God gave us to live by. So in the month of February, we learned how to love with wisdom. We learned how to build relationships and marriages with intention. We learned how to break unhealthy patterns and create homes that reflect God's heart. Now, are you ready to decode God's way of loving? Welcome to the Love Code Month. One of the first things we learned this month is that love is not something you stumble into carelessly. Love requires wisdom. It requires intention because the truth is, successful relationships and marriages don't just happen by chance. They are built. If love is God's design, then how do we approach it? How do we get it right? How do we approach it the right way? How do we build relationships that are healthy, intentional, and aligned with God's wisdom? That is where the conversation started for us this month. Love. It's more than a feeling. It's a rhythm. It's a way of walking in God's wisdom. This month, we saw clearly how God doesn't just tell us to love, but He teaches us how to. Intentionally, intelligently, faithfully. For starters, when we enter into relationships, desire alone is not enough. Feeling something doesn't guarantee that the journey will succeed. And the dating season isn't just about meeting someone, it's about counting the cost. Proverbs reminds us that wisdom builds the house, not haste, not convenience, not surface level attraction. So, what do? How do we navigate this? First, by purpose, not pressure. You ask, what's the purpose of this relationship, right? Next is by observing patterns, not rushing into fantasy. Then you ask questions, not guessing. The dating season is a time to ask questions, lots of questions. Also, by involving God every step of the way. Then, include boundaries. Boundaries are not restrictions. They are safeguards. They help you so you don't fall off the cliff. Then finally, seek counsel. Seeking counsel is very important. And no, it's not optional. It's guidance. And when we see the person we want to work with, for the person we choose to work with, we look at their heart, their honesty, their teachability. This then becomes our compass. We're not only building love for ourselves, we're building love that lasts across generations. That's another layer. This is shown in how we love. To truly love, we must honor, we must support. See, independence has its place, but unity, oneness, that is where God's design shines. Submission and leadership aren't about control or dominance. They're about trust, vision, and example. Conflict in a relationship does not equal to a battlefield. It's conversation. You must create a place where listening matters more than speaking, and humility speaks louder than pride. Our homes are the first classroom of love. What we tolerate, we definitely pass on, meaning we must check what we believe in, what has been passed down to us, so that we know what will be passed down to our children. Generational patterns persist unless confronted with grace, wisdom, and courage. The goal is to live faith, oneness, discipline, honor, and generosity as a living inheritance. So every habit, every decision, every act of love writes a story for the next generation. We must remember that marriage is God's design. Marriage is not a contract. It's a covenant. Therefore, it must not be taken lightly. Marriage thrives when it is built on the foundation of prayer, knowledge, discernment, communication, and purpose. In marriage, oneness and commitments aren't optional. They are the quiet work behind the beauty that lasts through trials. With Christ as the boat, the guide, the center, every couple can be carried through seasons of challenge and change. Now, where there is love, we must talk about power and money. God reminds us that wealth does not equal blessing. And marriage is not a limited liability company where the one with the highest shares take the lead. No. When we do marriage God's way, power is no longer a threat, and submission does not become subjugation. trust, transparency, generosity, respect. All these now become the standing pillars of your home. The home then becomes a sanctuary where your hearts are aligned, not just wallets or titles. Every relationship is a sacred assignment, and every conversation you have is a learning ground, and every season that you are in is a teaching moment. And when love hurts, oh, this is so tender. And yes, love does hurt sometimes, but pain doesn't have to define us. We can heal. Healing is a process, a discipline, a daily choice. You can stop the bleeding, reject lies, forgive, not to deny the pain, but to reclaim freedom for yourself. And before you try again, make sure you heal. Jesus, the great physician, is not just in the sky up there. No, he is present with you in the process, in the prayer, in the accountability, in the structures that protect your heart. Okay? Finally, in this month, we touched on the family altar. It is the first school of love. See, your first marriage lessons shouldn't come from a sermon. No, you were supposed to see it at home. Long before any sermon, God placed instructions in parents, in homes. Prayer, teaching, modeling, devotion. These are the foundations that make love sustainable, that guarantees legacy. And the home then becomes a sanctuary, not by accident, but now by intention. Love is a code. It is learned, it is practiced, and it is passed on. It is lived, not just said. I love you, I love you. Show walk-ins. Right? And when we walk in God's wisdom, every relationship, every home, every generation carries the imprint of God's love, of His faithfulness, and His design. So, at the end of February, the question remains the same. What kind of love are we building? Is it the kind that fades with emotions, or the kind that is rooted in wisdom? The kind that is built with intention and aligned with God's design? What kind of love are you building? Because when we follow God's way, love becomes more than a feeling. It becomes a foundation. It becomes legacy. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the Love Code Month. I am Wura Mercy, and these are my sermon notes. Until next time, keep growing, keep learning, and keep becoming. Bye!